experience. Every band should go through things like that. That's part of being in a band. I guess it's like the little adventures and the little challenges that you have to overcome. But this time it was just more. There was a very linear vision, and we knew we still didn't have a great deal of time to get it done. We had 4.5 days, and we had 22 songs.
You said 4.5 days, right?
4.5 days, yeah.
To record the whole record.
To record pretty much the whole record. We went back and spent 3 days later, 3 different days, adding finishing touches, adding the soulful ladies and a little pedal steel here and a little acoustic guitar there. But they were fully realized songs every day, and we were kind of keeping track of it. And one day we basically recorded 6 songs, which is a hell of a day if you've ever been in the studio.
I mean, well, like I said, 4.5 days to put out Whippoorwill. That's phenomenal. So I applaud you and the rest of the guys in the band. It's just utterly amazing. One of the things I wanted to touch on, so I know you're currently on Zac Brown's record label right now, and I know Zac Brown and Blackberry Smoke pretty much came up at the same time on the circuit back in the early 2000s and such. So you guys developed a friendship there, and of course, in the country genre, Zac Brown's gone on to phenomenal success. And if I'm not mistaken, right after A Little Piece of Dixie, the record label and such that you guys were on pretty much folded up, or what happened there, and Zac Brown stepped in and offered to put you guys on his label. Is that the way it went?
That's it. Yeah, we were involved with a situation that was sort of an indie type situation, which there's so much of that now. Around this country or around the world, with the industry just changes. Each year that comes, you see something different, something new. And anyway, so there we were, and we thought everything was hunky-dory, and we were ready, had been ready for a while to go make the next album, which would be the Whippoorwill or whatever it might have been called at that time. And it was literally like we woke up one day and it was like, your record label is no more. The guy who runs your label is probably going to go to prison. So we were like, well, hell, what are we going to do now? We're going to keep going like we always have, even if we have to, jump back in the van and do whatever it is we do. But at that point, it was the people that we were working with, some of the other people that were going to be jobless pretty much, were like, wait a minute, looking at our different options, and then in which there weren't many, because there's just not a whole lot of bands like us, I guess, that people deal with. But at any rate, Zac had been a friend, like you say, for a long time. And it was just one of those cases where every time we were around him or would see him, he would say, anything I can do for you, you let me know, kind of thing. And then add to that the music business is the grapevine, so to speak, and news travels fast. And so he contacted us, and I was like, okay, well, I heard some bad news, and I'm sorry about that, but if you need a place to come home to, you got one.
Well, the success that you guys are having right now, I believe your first 2 albums, I'm not sure if they charted or not, but, I know you released the Whippoorwill, and it automatically went to the charts, not just the country charts, but...
I believe it's number 40 in Rolling Stone. I saw that today.
Yeah, that's got to be just a phenomenal feeling to wake up one morning and see your album on the charts, not just the country charts and Southern rock, but you're on Rolling Stone, you're on all these other different categories of music. So, what's that like to sit there and put all this hard work in and then finally have it realized?
You know what? I don't know yet. I don't guess it's really. I don't guess I've had time for it to sink in yet because I still had to crank my lawnmower today.
Oh. So let me get this straight. You're actually mowing your own lawn?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's not a whole lot of lawn services out where I live. No, it's great. The first couple of days were such a whirlwind. The day that it came out, we were in New York City with a day off. Sort of a day off. We had some press stuff to do, which is not really a day off at all. But to watch that happen pretty quickly, I was just like, wow, well, hell, this is just a tribute to our fans, or we can attribute this to having such loyal, great fans, and then they turn, their friends onto it, and so on and so on and so on. So I feel like it's an honor, It's nothing that we would ever take for granted, because we still got to go out and work hard, regardless what happens, but it definitely makes us feel proud because we're very, very proud of the album. You know, there's nothing on it that we would change. Everything is exactly the way that we wanted it.
And you should be proud of the album. I mean, I'm just going to tell you this really quickly. I was playing the album the other day in my car, and my girlfriend got in the car, and she's like, "Who are you listening to? Who is this?" And she sat in the car and listened to about 3 or 4 tracks, and she goes, "This is a really, really good album." And I'm going to ask you this because I went out and I bought the album, and she asked me to burn the disc for her. Is it okay if I burn the disc for her, or do you want me to go out and buy another album for her?
I think go out and buy another album for her.
All right, I'll do that.
Charlie, being a fan of music my whole life, but never being a musician, I always wanted to know what it was like. You're the lead singer in the band, so what do you do the day of a show? Like, can you go through your whole routine for the whole day? Because I always was fascinated before you hit the stage at 9 o'clock. What goes on behind the scenes the whole day?
Oh Lord, it changes every day. I guess that we're not You know, have you ever seen, there was a documentary about the Stones that came out years ago. I think I had it on VHS tape. And Mick Jagger was talking about by the time they got up into playing huge tours that they were playing the same exact stage every night on the same gear. You know, it was the touring production, you know, that they carried with them in however many 18-wheelers and stuff. Well, we don't have that luxury, so every gig is different. Every stage is different. Every club is different. You know, if we're on a tour opening for somebody, then it's a bit more similar, but it still could change. So I think every day is just adaptation. I personally don't have any kind of voice regimen or whatever. I smoke cigarettes and drink coffee, which is probably the worst thing in the world you can do for your voice, but I've been doing it for 20 years, so I don't...
Still sounds good. Still sounds good.
Well, thank you, man. I'm knocking wood because I don't really ever have many problems. I don't know. I mean, we were a bar band for so many years. I mean, it's kind of like taking a leak in the Chattahoochee River right now. There's nothing that's in the air in that bar that's going to do much more damage, you know?
So does the band get together and decide what the set list is going to be, or do you guys pretty much all come to agreement on it, or is sometimes I want to play this song, I want to play that song, or is that usually how it works?
Well, I'm lazy, and I'm a procrastinator, and I usually write it about an hour before we go on.
Oh, really?
But during sound check, I mean, it's a pretty regular thing to go. Well, we don't play the same show every night because that would suck. And I mean, we have the same songs, obviously, and we don't have a catalog of 500 songs to choose from, but we try to mix it up a little bit every night, you know, so it doesn't get formulaic.
Yeah.
And then it's a really good thing, you know, if we have the luxury of a sound check to look around at one another and go, like, what do we want to play tonight that we haven't played in a while? That kind of thing, you know, or what cover? Because we love to, you know, from time to time play one of our favorite songs, no matter what it is. So it's an interesting thing. You know, another good thing is nobody ever says no, you know, I'll sit down and basically go, okay, how about this, guys, for the night, you know? And everybody's agreeable. They just...
That's good.
Easygoing guy.
Yeah.
Well, now just a couple questions I wanted to ask you about Whippoorwill and a couple songs, actually, and if you could go into a little bit more detail on a couple of the tracks.
Sure.
The first track that we opened up to basically our audience here was Shaking Hands with the Holy Ghost, which phenomenal song. So tell us a little bit more about that particular track and what that song's about and where it takes you guys when you guys are up there singing that song.
That one's really, that one's another one that's a kick in the teeth, I think. It's a really, you know, it's a relief. Somebody the other day said it sounded like if AC/DC was from East Alabama.
Yeah, that's what we got from it, too.
Yeah, I'm at home with that. That's fine. That one is, it's sort of about, I've been sober for quite a few years now, but I wasn't always, of course. And so that song is about some of the wilder times, I guess. Nothing specific or in particular, just the way that some nights used to go. There's some clandestine drug references, I'm sure, in there, and just party references. But the whole that that's just metaphor, of course, the shaking hands with the Holy Ghost part. I tell you
Uh-huh.
what interesting thing about that song is that's the first song that we recorded for the album. And after we finished the tracking of the album, we went out and did more shows. We actually went the last day and filmed our live DVD, the Live at the Georgia Theater. And then 2 days after that, or the very next day, went to Kentucky and played an outdoor show. And we played that song, and I explained to the audience that it was the first song that we recorded for the album, and that we recorded the album in an old church in Asheville, North Carolina. And so we go into the song. Well, we finished the song, and we started playing another song. And during this next song, this girl comes up and is just cussing me out right up at the foot of the stage. And so we stopped, and she was going out of her mind. And I didn't know what was going on. I thought, is there a problem? Do we need an ambulance? What the hell's going on? So we stopped, and she just continues to just cuss me like a dog. And so I'm like, what is your problem? And she goes, that song. And so she was thinking that it was a blasphemous song, I'm guessing.
Uh-huh.
And religion being the way that it is, I guess she's so devout that she decided to cuss me out. So anyway, I thought, well, hell, at least they got a reaction. I don't know if that was a good reaction, but...
That's the whole idea, right?
Yeah. And I figured that's way better than her hating the song and leaving.
Well, she's probably now, after listening to the track and listening to the lyrics, I think she probably realized how much of a jackass she made of herself, because I definitely didn't get any of that out of that song.
Neither did I.
I got more exactly what you were saying.
I got the AC/DC type.
Yeah, going through the struggles that you went through, and in a way, so I definitely picked it up in the song. And not so much AC/DC. I'm going to say this. I'm leaning more towards Deep Purple. That's
oh,
what,
wow, okay.
That's what it reminded me of, and
because of the B3, he uses
Brandon. I mean,
Brandon Silva uses the B3, right?
I mean, if you want to go ahead and tell Brandon, he sounds.